Welcome back. So adding these controls individually is okay for now, but it'll be a hell when we need to start validating the data inside them if we do not have some kind of form wrapping all of these guys so we can kind of validate that they are all okay before we do a submit and a save a new customer to the backend. So what we're going to work with next is what we call the form group that can kind of wrap a lot of form controls inside a group of controls, right? So think of it this way: for each input or drop down or whatever you have, we're going to kind of wrap it inside a group so we know exactly all of these controls together can create a customer, right? And then I can validate them all before I can actually do the save, and I can do some other crazy things. So we're going to this lesson add the form group to our system, and we're going to do it kind of the hard way, and next we'll try and use a form group builder to make it even easier. But let's just try and do it the hard way first. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump back to our code right here, and we're going to jump into the TS file. Now I'm going to actually go in here and create a new variable, and let's just call it form group, which is just a name. We can also call it customer group like this, customer group. Then it's a better name maybe. And that's going to be of the type form group. So here I'm just defining what the type is, right? And then I want to kind of remove these two controls. I know I just built them, but you know what? I'm going to just cut them for now. And then in the constructor, I'm going to create a new form group. Create new form group. And in that form group right away, I'm going to add these guys inside curly brackets like this and just do them comma separated. There we go. So now we have our form controls available, and we cannot use equal sign in here. We of course need to use colon and colon. So now we have these guys available inside the form group, and I don't know what he's complaining about. There was a space there. There we go. So now we've created a form group that kind of contains the different controls that we need. And when we have the addresses, there will of course come more controls into this system right here. So we just changed our system from using single controls into having a group of controls. But how do we fix this in the UI? Because right now everything is exploding. So I'm going to scroll down a bit. I'm going to grab a new form right here and paste that in instead of the one we have. And I'm going to try and explain it step by step as I change it. So I'm just pasting it inside this guy that we built earlier, because we're going to do this differently right now. So we're going to have a form as the root component, and that makes sense because every time you do something you need a form to kind of submit data to the backend. That's how we make post requests normally in any HTML page. We use forms, and we just made a customer group, right? So that's the form group that this form knows about. So it's kind of helping us use the validation using everything inside our system. Let's keep no validate out of the way for now. I'll get back to that later. And then I'm going to put this back. So now we have the first name again, and that's going to of course reference a form control called first name, right? There we go. And then we're going to make another label, map it to last name. Let me just actually make this uppercase instead of lowercase, and that's going to map to the last name form control. There we go. So now this should be up and running again, and notice all I did was kind of wrap this in a form group. So now I have a group of controls, right? So let's see if it works. Jumping into my code, it still looks the same, right? Next lesson I'll try and show you that you actually get the data in here. But now you kind of made your first real form that we can start submitting on later. When we feel that we have the data in here, we can do a submit. We can validate on the form, say you cannot submit this unless you put in a first name and a last name. Your first name needs to be like 10 characters before we can submit, etc., etc. So we can start making some cool validation on these forms. But let's get back to that next lesson. Have fun.